Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Can Mayonnaise Kill a Jedi podcast. I am your host, the Artificial Dragon.
I'm your co-host, Darth Celine.
And welcome to the 45th episode of the podcast, everybody. I know we're a little bit late on uploading this episode, but at the time of recording, this is indeed the second year anniversary of the Can Mayonnaise Kill a Jedi podcast.
To the day, or?
To the day, yes.
Holy shit.
Yes.
September 14th.
Yep, September 14th was the date I created the channel. I'm not too sure when we recorded the first episode, but I know for a fact that I created the channel on this very day 2 years ago.
Yay!
So yeah, this will be a very particularly, well, everybody knows the title of this episode already, but
again, he's still keeping me in the dark. That's 2 episodes now.
Yeah, this is the unraveling of the mystery box episode for Hannah over there. Mm-hmm. It won't always be like this. We'll go back to our usual format of episodes that me and Hannah choose, but since this is a very special episode, I thought it would be appropriate to follow a very popular topic. Don't worry, it's not Mandalorians this time, like you asked last time. But before we go into that, let's go ahead and get our Patreon tiers out of the way. So if all of you lovely viewers love our podcast and our content, you could support us at patreon.com/canmail. Once again, that's patreon.com/canmail, where you could contribute to any tier, the lowest being $3 and the highest being $10. And of course, you have automatic access to our Discord server, where you could talk about general Star Wars lore, discuss lore details, share memes, or just have a nice little discussion about anything in your personal life with me and Celine over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been very fun discussing lore details, looking at OCs.
It's been fun nerding out with you guys.
Yeah.
Let's hope for another 2 more years.
Yeah, so once again, this month's Patreon art piece is motherfucking shirtless Darth Mar, who always keeps his fucking mask for whatever goddamn reason, because he's a motherfucking Chad. Yep. But yeah, if you aren't interested in shirtless Darth Mar, don't worry, we have a wide selection of other Patreon art pieces, like we have Duchess Satine with Obi-Wan Kenobi, an evil Padme over there, a sexy Togruta Huntress, and the whole shebang, and there will be more in the coming months. But yeah, with that out of the way, I'm sure I'm going to let Celine take over briefly with her promotion.
The only promotion I have now is to support my blog.
Yeah.
Personal Sator headcanons. Send me asks, please. I would like to flex those creative muscles. It would be nice.
Don't worry, I'll throw a couple of questions your way once the session is over and everything.
Grazie.
But anyway, for any of you longtime viewers, I'll quickly get this out of the way. I started a new series. A D&D series called Star Wars Alternate, the Iego arc. The first episode has already come out, and there will be a second episode by Friday after this episode has been uploaded.
Yay! Finally!
Yeah. This is the penultimate or ultimate finale of my 3-year-long D&D campaign coming to a close.
We don't know that, but maybe.
We shall see, but yeah, creative details here and there.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, another thing I want to share with everybody, for any of you that have known me personally for the past 3 years, so I have gotten a nice little thing in the mail from Star Wars author Joe Bengarno. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name. I'm not very good with pronunciations. But Joe is a longtime author who's done a lot of Legends-related novels on the hyperspace.net website. That's discontinued a good while ago. One of his more popular novels is Supernatural Encounters, blah, blah, blah. For any of you that are in the know, he's recently created an expanded version of Supernatural Encounters, and he has sent me a copy of a book. And in it, is one of my original creations, the Sith Witchling, which is a brand new, unique Sith spawn creature.
Oh yeah, we encountered this creature in Star Wars Alternate.
Yeah.
It's fucking terrifying.
It
We
is.
almost died.
Yeah, if you want a simplification, think of John Carpenter's The Thing, but in Star Wars, basically.
Yeah, it really does look like the thing.
Yeah, so it's really exciting. It's a very large book, and it'll probably take me a couple months to fully read through it. 80 chapters, by the way, everybody. 80 fucking chapters.
Fucking hell, that's a big ass book.
But yeah, it's a big ass book. Once again, thank you, Joe, for including my Sith Witchling within your book. It's technically not canon in the Legends continuity of Star Wars, but it's really nice to see that it's the closest we got to an official work with my Sith Witchling.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, if you guys want to know more about the Sith Witchling, I might explore it in a separate episode, but I'm not going to say any more details because we're kind of limited on time, but just thought I'd throw that out there. But yeah, so with... Oh yeah, Patreons, goddammit. So for all of you smugglers that have contributed to the podcast, I'll do a quick shout out real quickly. Thank you to Cameron Lee, Elia Gestapi, Kenneth Young, Leon Fott IV, Tristan H., newly elevated Dr. M. Boss, and special shout out to fellow podcaster Voxcast to Nowhere. Thank you so much for supporting the smuggler tier of our Patreon, and I hope you enjoy the content from this day going forward.
Happy 2 years, y'all.
Yeah. Now, with that truly out of the way, Hannah, so let me see how... Okay. Do you want to do a random shot in the dark? Or do you want me to give you a hint?
Just tell me.
Alright, no worries, Hannah. I will stop beating around the bush. But, a little bit of context. So the year is 25 years after the Battle of Yavin. So this is right around the post-Return of the Jedi era of Star Wars. The old EU of Star Wars, before the prequels came along.
Okay.
So around this time, there's a relative period of peace. The New Republic has made peace with the Imperial Remnant. The Galactic Civil War has ended. While there are still some conflicts with pirates and other offshoot factions here and there, Gale Akbar is retiring. Luke and Mara Jade are going on their second honeymoon. Everything is going great in the Star Wars galaxy. Though, one day, there are unknown reports going on in the Outer Rim, near the world of Helskia 4, which is basically an ice planet. Think of Hoth. So, there's this Jedi. His name is Kib Duran. He's sent out to investigate these unknown claims because he's thinking like there's pirate activity, what the fuck is going on. He goes there with his squadron of X-Wings and A-Wings, I believe. But instead of pirates, he encountered a far more sinister enemy. He was met with a squadron of unknown ships that were dispatched from the world. And in that brief encounter, his entire squadron got fucked. He was the only survivor, and he had to give a fuck out of Dodge and everything.
Okay.
So, as the days go by, the New Republic starts encountering this new enemy that has entered the Star Wars galaxy from the unknown regions. And this enemy would turn out to be an extragalactic race called the Yuuzhan Vong.
Okay.
So yeah, this episode will be exploring a very popular topic. This will be another a race episode exploring the Yuuzhan Vong. Don't worry, I'm putting pictures of them in the chat. Yeah, they are really creepy looking fuckers. They're basically another humanoid race. They're extragalactic. And what I mean by extragalactic is that they're not native to the Star Wars galaxy.
Yeah, I got that.
They come from another galaxy out there. Did the pictures not go through?
No.
Okay, let me try again.
Now they did.
Okay, cool.
Space orcs.
Essentially, yeah, that's a good comparison. Space orcs. So yeah, this episode.
Picture like space orcs, but also Vecna.
Vecna? Oh,
They look like
oh,
Vecna.
you're talking about the god of liches, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I could see that. But yeah, just to give you a little bit of perspective on the Yuuzhan Vong, the Yuuzhan Vong are kind of a they're kind of a contested point in this old EU of Star Wars. Like, when I mean contested, think of how people were divisive on The Last Jedi movie. A lot of people hate it, a lot of people love it. That's basically what the Yuuzhan Vong are in the old EU of Star Wars.
Okay.
And yeah, as we'll get into it, they don't sound like they should belong in Star Wars.
They don't look like they belong in Star Wars.
No, they do
They
not.
look like something out of Middle Earth.
You know, you're not wrong. But yeah, they are... so before I go into the Yuuzhan Vong as a whole, let me give you a nice little quote between Kunman Durrana, who is one of Palpatine's aides, and Grand Admiral Thrawn himself. One of the... so if you recall in the Thrawn episode, Thrawn was still a captain. He was approached by Palpatine, and they decided to work together to stop the outbound flight from encountering these far outsiders. The far outsiders are the Yuuzhan Vong in this case.
Oh, shit.
So let me give you a nice little exchange between both of them. This is Kanmon speaking. There's an invasion coming. A massive assault force of dark ships, shadowy figures, and weapons of great power, based on organic technology of a sort we've never seen before. We believe these far outsiders, as we call them, already have a foothold at the far edge of the galaxy, and even now have scouting parties seeking information on world and peoples to conquer. One will Darth Sidious tell the citizens of a republic, when he's turned the republic's chaos into order, when we've built an army and a fleet capable of dealing with the threat. To announce it before then would do nothing but create panic and leave us open to disaster. So the general implication is that essentially Palpatine and his inner circle have been kind of aware of the Yuuzhan Vong for quite some time, and one of the reasons why Palpatine created the Empire was to prepare the galaxy for the incoming Yuuzhan Vong threat.
Wow, that's amazing. Palpatine has a quote-unquote noble goal.
Yeah, it's more of an excuse, but I think it's also kind of a funny lore reason why he makes so many goddamn super weapons, like the Sun Crusher, multiple Death Stars, is so that he could prepare for the Yuuzhan Vong. Which is also kind of funny because, so the Yuuzhan Vong are an antagonist force that's introduced in this novel series called The New Jedi Order and everything. And there's like multiple points where many of the named characters like Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, they're all like, God damn, if only we had a Death Star around, this would be so much easier to deal with. But yeah, just a little background on the Yuuzhan Vong. Let me go ahead and get into, well, their biology first. So the Yuuzhan Vong are a humanoid race that have an average height of around 5 feet 11 inches to 6 feet 3 inches tall. They have grayish, violet, or yellowish skin, as you can see there. They possess black hair and have either black or blue eyes. They have a taller and more heavier build than normal humans and have an average lifespan of 76 years. But their maximum lifespan was that of 2 to 3 times that of an average human, which I reckon is like, if your average human can live for like, I don't know, 90 to 100 years, maybe 300 or 400 years in the Yuuzhan Vong's case.
Wow.
But the reason why they have such a small average lifespan is because, well, they're always dying. There's a lot of warriors in there. Yeah. Genetically, they share many elements to humans, which is considered unusual because they come from a different galaxy. But one notable difference was one element in their genetic makeup can be found in their biotechnology. So we'll explore the Yuuzhan Vong's technology, so to speak, but simply put, the Yuuzhan Vong don't use technology. They don't have electronics, they don't have droids, everything at their disposal is completely organic.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, we'll explore that in a little bit. The Yuuzhan Vong have a sloping, almost ridge-like foreheads. The Yuuzhan Vong are known to have pointed ears, like elves, while others lacked any kind of ears. The Yuuzhan Vong have a short, stubby nose, as you see in some of... They have almost skull-like faces, as you see in their pictures right there. Underneath their eyes, I'm not sure if any of the pictures show, but they have blue sacs underneath their eyes, which is considered a mark of beauty amongst their race. These sacs expand and contract to reflect the individual Vong's mood, as they do not use facial expressions like you and I do.
That's weird.
Yeah. One of the other aspects of their physiology is their blood is jet black, like ink.
Okay.
And their nervous system is very conductive, almost as if it was specifically made for feeling pain. So every feeling, like if a motherfucking bedbug bite a Yuuzhan Vong, they would feel that. Or like the tiniest nit prick, they would feel that. Everything that pricks their skin causes them pain. But that's a unique part of the Yuuzhan Vong biology, is that the Yuuzhan Vong, they are a highly religious race. Like, I'll go into their pantheon of gods soon, but they, to simply put it simply, they are sadomasochists. They embrace pain. They see inflicting pain on themselves as the closest way of connecting to their gods.
To each their own.
Yep.
Everyone's got their kinks.
Yeah, like, literally they're warriors. Even though they could feel everything, they don't utter a single grunt of pain. They're just used to it. While it is impossible to... okay, another aspect. One of the reasons why the Yuuzhan Vong are such a threat to the galaxy is that, they exist outside of the Force.
Okay.
AKA...
So they're not a part of the living Force.
AKA, the Jedi cannot sense them at all. They are basically a no zone.
Wow.
Like, none of their Force abilities can even affect a Yuuzhan Vong.
Well.
Like, a Force push just goes right over them. Or mind tricks doesn't do shit against them, because they exist outside of the Force.
Oh, it doesn't affect bounty hunters either. So.
You're not wrong there. But yeah, let me see. The most you could probably do, like the most powerful Force user can do against an individual Yuuzhan Vong warrior, is basically trip them at best. However, this doesn't apply towards Force abilities that indirectly hurt them, like you could still hurl rocks and other debris at them through the Force and everything. Though there is one Force ability that actually hurts them, and that is Force Lightning.
Oh, goody.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, so already explored the physiology of the Yuuzhan Vong. Let us explore the culture of a Yuuzhan Vong. As I mentioned before, their culture is one of sacrifice and devotion to their gods, which include Yuuzhan Zon, the creator god, Yuan Harla, the goddess of deception, so basically female Loki, Yuan Harla, no, I already mentioned her, Yuan Yanamaka, which is the god of war, Yuan Nisala, the goddess of life and creativity, Yuan Texi and Yuan Quesh, lover gods and twins. And lastly, Yuan
Nani the fuck?
I know it.
Sweet
Home Alabama. And lastly is Yuan Shinano, the goddess of forgiveness.
Wow.
Yeah, so I forgot to mention this. The Yuuzhan Vong, there is a shit ton of lore on the Yuuzhan Vong. Remember when I did the Chiss episode and I talked about how deep the Chiss's lore is? Child's play. Try going into the Yuuzhan Vong's Wikipedia article. It's as long as Padme's article.
Let me guess, you cut it down significantly.
Oh, yes, I did. Like, all the details the Yuuzhan Vong wore, A lot of their technology, they have separate categories. There's a shit ton of Yuuzhan Vong named characters, as much as probably the Twi'leks.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, they will be dedicated to their own separate episode. I'm just focusing on them as a race.
Okay.
But anyway, so yeah, they have their own pantheon of gods, and very similar to the Chiss, who have like their own houses and everything. The Yuuzhan Vong have their own familial ties called domains. Each domain is basically a family or a clan, which are restricted to a specific caste system. And there are like a lot of rivalries between individual domains because you're all like, well, I need to gain my family's honor. Fuck those guys over there and everything. So yeah, let me go ahead and get into the caste system of the Yuuzhan Vong. And this is like a lot of them are kind of mentioned here and there, but a lot more have deep lore to them, so bear with me here. Among the Yuuzhan Vong, the first and highest caste system is the Supreme Overlord. Technically, it doesn't qualify as a caste, but it's labeled as such, so I'm going to include it anyway. The Supreme Overlord is basically the leader of the entire Yuuzhan Vong race. They have control of the other castes below them and serve as a prime conduit with Yuuzhan himself, who is the head of the Yuuzhan Vong god pantheon and everything. Only he is allowed to commune with the creator god. All others below him, no, you can't do that. Only the Supreme Overlord can. So essentially, he's a warrior king and a head priest wrapped into one.
Okay. But
yeah, the way of picking a Supreme Overlord is kind of metal. Let me see. So those who are picked for the position is not completely hereditary, but more often than not are drawn from a pool of candidates whose births are signified by supernatural things like omens, prophecies, and noble lineages. One example could be twins. Twins are extremely rare within Yuuzhan Vong society.
Okay.
So it's like a huge deal to have two twins. Like, oh my god, the prophecy. One of these...
two twins.
Yeah. Oh my god. One of these needs to be the Supreme Overlord. And by the time both of these twins reach the age of 6, they would basically be forced to go into ritualistic combat. And one of them would have to kill the other.
Jesus Christ.
Yep, it's pretty metal.
That's very metal.
And then, of course, the victor would become the future Overlord. And the second caste are the Shapers. The Shapers are basically the designated scientists of the Yuuzhan Vong, who are solely responsible for developing all of their biotechnology. And let me show you a quick picture of these. As you could probably tell, the Shaper Yuuzhan Vong are the most slim and feminine looking, and that's kind of on purpose, as we'll go into in a little bit.
Is it the females?
They're the Shaper caste, but it's also kind of interesting. It doesn't specify if only females are part of the Shapers, but I assume both male and female can become Shapers. They just look very feminine looking.
Yeah, they do. That's interesting.
But yeah, the Shapers, they develop all of the technology within the Empire. Everything from simple clothes worn by all castes to their mighty world ships. They create everything. So essentially, they're both scientists and weavers all in one. The Shapers learn techniques from written instructions known as courtesies, of which there are 8. The Adepts, which are, like the lowest ranking Shapers, are only allowed to access info up to the 5th Codex, with Masters being the only individuals getting access to the higher ones. The Shapers worship the goddess of life and childbirth Yonilshi. And like the other castes, they model themselves after the goddess, who is usually described as young, benevolent, and kind.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, each caste system of the Yuuzhan Vong, depending on which member of the pantheon they represent, they kind of model themselves after their, deity and everything.
That sounds similar to the Aigo gods.
Yeah, pretty much.
Stay tuned for that one.
But yeah, all of the Shapers are very thin and feminine looking, just like their goddess. And ironically enough, for a society that's as brutal as the Yuuzhan Vong, the Shapers are basically a representation of the gentler aspects of the Yuuzhan Vong.
That's hard to believe for a warrior culture.
Yeah.
It just feels like, femininity and gentleness isn't allowed.
Yeah.
But,
yeah,
wow, that's surprising.
Yeah, like I said, there is a lot of meat to the Yuuzhan Vong.
Hell, we're only 20 minutes in.
But yeah, all members of the Yuuzhan Vong, so each caste, like you have the warriors, we'll go into the warriors later, they kind of just self-modify themselves. Like the Shapers, they are the masters of biotechnology. Like each Yuuzhan Vong implants basically organic material. The Shapers, like, they always do a lot of diddling shit with organic beings. Like, ooh, you lost an arm. Let me give you the arm of this separate creature I found. Boink!
So, kind of like, this is just like real life correlation. Makes me think of Yosef Mengele.
Remind me what that is?
The Angel of Death.
Ah, okay,
From the Holocaust.
Yeah, kind of like that, or like the more fucking human centipede.
Oh no, we don't talk about that.
Yeah, the Shapers, they like to, what's the word I'm looking for? They like to do a lot of experimentation with organic material, and if you ever find yourself on the operating table of a Shaper, God have mercy on you, because oh boy, you're not gonna look the same after they're through with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ritual for an initiate is also kind of interesting. An initiate goes through the sacred art by going into a beast called the Grotto of Yun Nishao, where they undergo torturous pain and then sacrifice their right hand into the mouth of the creature, where it proceeds to grind it down to the bone, and then the mouth rotates and snaps off the hand of the initiate.
Jesus!
And then the initiate,
fucking saw trap.
Yeah, precisely that. That's basically the Yuuzhan Vong culture in a nutshell.
Oh my god!
And the initiate needs to make their way to a pool within the beast that contains an organism called Shaper hands, which basically look like regular hands, but they provide the Shaper the means of, grafting and shaping any organic creature to their own design and everything. So yeah,
these guys play God.
Pretty much, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And a nice little thing about the Shaper hand is that they could also modify it to have like grasping tentacles in it and everything. So imagine like a more fucking Dr. Octopus with his tentacles. Except that they're not metal, they're fully organic.
Ugh, that's so weird.
It is so weird, but it's so cool at the same time. But let me see. As the Shaper elevates in rank and becomes a Master Shaper, they get both of their hands replaced with Shaper hands. And are even implanted with what is called the Va tumor, which is believed to be a piece of brain matter from the goddess itself. So basically, yeah, they have a lot of body modifications and body horror to them, and this tumor is just put directly into their head. And basically what this tumor does is just overload their brain with basically every single, blueprint of their biotechnology in existence. Like imagine So you know that scene from The Matrix where Neo goes through several martial arts and he's like, I know Kung Fu.
I've never seen The Matrix.
Okay, whatever. Okay, that falls flat when you say it like that, but imagine it's...
I'm gonna get reamed in the comments for that one.
Imagine like you're just downloading schematics directly into your brain.
Like what Brainiac does.
Oh yeah, that's a good comparison. Yeah, basically like that. And as the Master Shaper has all of his knowledge integrated rapidly into their memory. Once they're fully educated, the tumor will be ritually excised, Though some Master Shapers have developed an emotional connection to the tumor's presence and
What
felt...
the
Because it's... In their perspective, it's basically like, oh, I've become one with my goddess. I'm sharing the same information she has willingly passed down to me, and now it's being taken away from me. I want to be with my goddess more.
Okay.
It's a very weird way to look at it, but the Yuuzhan Vong, they take extreme methods to connect to their, deities. But anyway, so that's the Shaper caste. The third caste is the Priest caste, and they are relatively simple. They are considered one of the most powerful castes within the Yuuzhan Vong's rigid, heretical society. Theocratic? Yeah, theocratic. They usually... So they could worship any of the deities within the pantheon. They're basically seen as the speakers and the priests to those gods.
Okay.
Though the only member of the pantheon they never speak for is Yuuzhan, who is represented by the Supreme Overlord. Like, nobody else can commune with a creator god except for him. They also specifically look for signs from the gods to see if they favor their warriors in battle, much like a soothsayer would in ancient Roman society. Like, oh, the winds are going that way. That must mean it's going to be a great victory for us. Or, oh no, the liver is tainted. That means there's going to be a great defeat for us. That sort of thing. They are also responsible for purifying the Vong contaminated by technology. Because technology, that is heresy for the Yuuzhan Vong. Any form of technology, whether it's smartphones, that AC unit over there, or droids, that's just pure heretical to them.
Interesting.
Yeah. And more importantly, the priests are the ones that are responsible for selecting the next Supreme Overlord. So yeah, priest caste, very simple. Let me actually show a... quick picture of them because, more self-immolation by the Yuuzhan Vong right there. Yeah, this guy looks pretty gnarly looking. Yeah. Yeah, just body horror after body horror after body horror over here.
It's like, take Pinhead, but add claws and take away most of the pins in his fucking head.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
What the fuck?
And then the next cast, and arguably the most, best represented one, is the Warrior cast. And as you could tell from the name, they are the military arm of the Yuuzhan Vong race. They serve as one of the largest castes within their race. All members of a warrior caste were trained from an early age in a form of warfare, and as such, they are far more aggressive from all other castes and are the most self-important. Like, they are the most holier than thou of all the castes. Like, I don't care what you think of, I don't care what you think of. Yeah.
They're the fucking Saiyans in Star Wars.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. They're like more fucking Super Saiyans, more fucking Prince Vegeta from Dragon Ball.
Just Saiyans in general, because all they care about is power.
Yeah, they are arguably the most fanatically devoted to their leaders and their gods. They show no fear, no mercy, and follow their orders without question. They never even cry in pain, nor the threat of death or dismemberment meaning nothing to them at all.
Jesus, these guys are terrifying.
Yeah. If you ever pick a Yuuzhan Vong and decide to torture the fuck out of them, the warrior casts are the last ones you want to capture.
They're not gonna care.
They're all like,
more.
Oh, you cut off my arm? No, whatever.
Give me more.
Give me more. The only thing that mattered to a warrior was the thrill of battle and destroying all infidels before them. On the battlefield, all Yuuzhan Vong warriors prefer to maneuver themselves as close to the enemy as possible. So these guys, they look at ranged weapons, they're like, pussy shit, let's go!
They're barbarians.
Yeah, pretty much barbarians. They love the thrill of battle. They love tearing people limb from limb.
Also, when you get to the infidel part in editing, add in Ahmed. Infidels!
Infidels, I like pa. But yeah,
Oh, going to hell.
yeah, we're already there, Hannah. What are you talking about? So yeah, even though I'll probably explore the Yuuzhan Vong technology later, the standard Yuuzhan Vong warrior wears a suit of armor called the Vavilion Scar Kair, or more commonly, the Vavilion crab armor, which is made from the living shell of a Vavilion crab. And this armor is light and durable, being able to protect from wear from all amounts of damage from blasters, slug throwers, and even lightsaber blows.
Ooh.
So not even lightsabers can go through that armor quite easily. And their main weapon, which I think are pretty cool, their main weapon, as I mentioned before, all of their technology is alive, even their weapons. Their main weapon is this serpentine creature called the Amphi Staff. Let me see if I could find it real quickly. Do I have it? God damn it. Yeah, here we go.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It looks like a staff.
Yeah, it's... Even though it looks like your ordinary little serpentine snake-looking fucker, these things can be operated as either a staff, a sword, or even it can be hardened into a spear, or even a staff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, these things are pretty freaking cool. Is there... Like, yeah, these things are no joke. There's a picture somewhere where a Yuuzhan Vong warrior outright impales a Jedi with one. Just...
Jesus fuck.
Yeah, you know that fatality that Raiden does where he just...
Yeah.
Basically like that with the Amphi Staff. But let me move on. So, oh yeah, the funny part. The Amphi Staff, they're also resistant to lightsaber blows.
Oh, wow.
And there have even been cases of the motherfucking Amphi Staff just coiling around the blade of a lightsaber and just trying to snap at the Jedi's face.
God damn.
Yeah, these things are pretty hardcore. And there's even a more powerful version called the Scepters of Power. Mm-hmm. Basically, it's a larger Amphi Staff that's like 9 feet long and it's used by the Supreme Overlord. It's also considered the king of all Amphi Staffs. Here's a picture of Luke Skywalker fighting the Supreme Overlord.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That staff is pretty cool.
Yeah. They even spit poison, which causes excruciating pain to the user for a full 24 hours before they eventually die. Mm-hmm. But anyway, as the name implies, the warrior caste style themselves after their patron deity, Yon Yonmak, the god of war. They mostly pay homage by sacrificing body parts. Like, there's...
Just like with the Aztec gods.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, there are some cases of a Yuuzhan Vong warrior. Okay, so there's this neat little story where Darth Maul himself fights a Yuuzhan Vong warrior.
Wow.
Yeah. He didn't know it was a Yuuzhan Vong at the time, but he was fighting this Yuuzhan Vong warrior, and the warrior punched him in the face hard enough to break some of his teeth out.
Oof.
And as he's wiping away his blood, the Yuuzhan Vong looked at one of the pieces of tooth that was on the ground, picked it up, and just inserted it in his mouth.
Damn.
As a sort of trophy, and adding it to his batch of teeth up there.
What the fuck?
Like I said, they love self-immolation.
That's...
Yeah, the Yuuzhan Vong warrior are pretty hardcore, let's be honest. They love pain, they love using parts of their body parts of other races grafted into themselves, and they love pain for days.
I'm a masochist. This is too much. Oh my god.
Now, even though I'm kind of painting them as these immoral killing machines, they do, uniquely like the Mandalorians, they do have a sense of honor.
That's surprising.
Like the Mandalorians, a warrior despises deception, so never expect a warrior to lie to you right to your face.
Oh, wow.
And if you directly challenge a individual Yuuzhan Vong warrior, they will always answer the challenge, because if they refuse, that's a huge dishonor for both their caste and their family, basically. And refusing a challenge is just the hugest insult to their god. And uniquely, they have something similar to a Wookiee life debt. Like, if you ever save a warrior from certain death, they will show their gratitude and fight for you.
Wow.
So yeah, they could be pretty honorable. One thing they have in common with the Mandalorians, at least.
Yeah. That's cool.
It is pretty cool. Yeah. Though if a warrior is captured, they would attempt to commit suicide. You know, classic seppuku stuff.
Seppuku.
Yeah, because to be captured by a lesser foe is a great dishonor on their part. Like,
directly taking from feudal Japan.
Feudal Japan. What's another culture I could fall back on? A little bit of Vikings here and there, too.
A little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, a Yuuzhan Vong warrior loves the thrill of battle, and the last thing they'll ever do is retreat. That's a great dishonor. But yeah, and even if they don't commit suicide, they'll just give you the biggest middle finger while they're being tortured.
Just fuck you.
Alright, moving on from the warriors, we have the fifth caste, which are kind of a bit more interesting. They're called the Indents. They serve as the political and economic figures within Yuuzhan Vong society. They're basically the smallest caste within the race, but all of them serve as bureaucrats, organizers, and logistics personnel within their race. So, if you're looking at the common politician in the Galactic Senate, that's those guys.
Okay.
Yeah, these guys are clever motherfuckers. Like, you know that common saying from Napoleon? Amateurs discuss military tactics. Professionals discuss logistics. That's these guys in a nutshell.
Okay.
So yeah, the Indents, aside from being bureaucrats, they are responsible for taking care of the numerous creatures created by the Shapers. In addition, they are the spies and advanced scouts for the Yuuzhan Vong race and everything. Despite their importance to the government of the Empire, many other castes, such as the warriors and priests, look down upon them for their deception and unsavory methods in running the Empire. Like, these guys are your classic spy from TF2. Like, goddamn spies, dishonest folk, why should I work for them and everything like that. But yeah, they also have their own military branch called the Praetorian Vong. These guys are the expeditionary force. These guys are the very first Yuuzhan Vong the galaxy would ever face. Like, these guys would create front bases and supply lines, allies to reach out to in the Star Wars galaxy and everything. And I remember a Yuuzhan Vong warrior comparing the Praetorian Vong as politicians playing as soldiers.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, and any warrior that is assigned to the Praetorian Vong to augment their forces see it as a great dishonor. Because they're doing all the sneaky shit. Why should I do this? I should be on the battlefield, taking down worthy foes left and right, that sort of thing. But yeah, let me see. Now, the sixth and the largest caste of the Yuuzhan Vong is the worker caste. Even though they are basically the largest of all the castes combined, they're mostly, you know, classic worker stuff, slave labor, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not too many details on the worker caste. It's pretty self-explanatory. But the worker caste serves as a dumping ground for members of other castes that failed in some shape or fashion. These particular individuals are called the Shamed Ones. The Shamed Ones are Yuuzhan Vong who are deemed as imperfect by the other castes. Like, let's say there's a Shaper who failed her trials or something like that. I don't want to get my hand bitten off. What are you, fucking crazy? You're going to the Shamed Ones. Or a warrior that runs away in cowardice, you go to the Shamed Ones. A member of the Indent caste that wants to be honest and straight, you're going to the Shamed Ones. Yeah, it's basically a dumping ground for all of these outcasts of Yuuzhan Vong society. And as such, they are forbidden to worship any of the Yuuzhan Vong gods, except for one. And that is Yonshano, the goddess of forgiveness. And in the pantheon of the Yuuzhan Vong, she watches over all the shamed ones with her, quote, multi-eyed form. Protecting them from the wrath of the other gods. Though it's also pretty fitting because Yonoshano is considered the most grotesque looking out of all the other gods in the pantheon. Which is ironic considering that a lot of the Yuuzhan Vong self-immolate and everything.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's enough of a cast. The language of the Yuuzhan Vong, also called Yuuzhan Vong, is described as a hugely guttural language. Like, you know,
orc.
yeah. Like, you know how the Chiss language is described as very proper and complex sounding? That's basically the opposite of the Yuuzhan Vong.
Okay.
And let me see. For speakers of Basic, Yuuzhan Vong almost sounds like they're coughing or snarling when they speak. And interestingly enough, many Yuuzhan Vong don't even bother learning how to speak Basic. For them, it sounds too clicky.
Huh.
And instead, they rely on this worm-like creature called Ayoza worms, which translates any language. They basically insert it into their head and it allows them to understand and speak the language. Any language.
So basically comprehend language, but it goes in your ear!
In a worm that you insert into your ear, yeah.
That's disgusting.
Like I said, a lot of their biotechnology is alive.
Yeah, that's weird.
I'll give you a couple of examples of the Yuuzhan Vong language real quickly. There's Jedi, which is Jedi.
That sounds like Mandoa.
Yeah.
Mandoa.
Nom, enemy. Kenabar, worker. Yuuzhan Vong, child of Yuuzhan. And then let me speak a couple of sentences for you. Kanabar, dung of a meat maggot. Rush Hook, Ekanon, Vanurnak. Die well, brave warrior. But anyway, so the most unique aspect about the Yuuzhan Vong, which I'm sure you're very interested up to this point, is their technology. Or, more accurately, their biotechnology, or simply biot by the Yuuzhan Vong themselves. Their biotes consist of creatures born and bred for their assigned tasks. So everything from the simplest dagger to the largest cannon to even their starships, they're all alive.
That's so weird.
But so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Like, even, I believe, like, their toothpaste and their toothbrushes are alive.
What the fuck?
I know. For they hate all forms of manufactured technology, whether it be electronics, machines, and especially droids. Because in the ancient past, in their old galaxy, there was a war between two droid empires that basically destroyed their galaxy. So they have a deep ingrained hatred towards droids in general. Like, I remember this one story, I can't remember if it was on Wikipedia or in passing. If they ever do an invasion, they gather up all the droids, put them into a pit, and then pour lava into it.
Jesus.
Because they want to cleanse everything of all technology, and droids are like a mockery of the organic form. They don't have a soul, they don't have feelings, like, fuck you, droids.
Some droid activists would disagree. But
yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, the Yuuzhan Vong would probably crucify you for saying that.
Jesus.
Like, in the Yuuzhan Vong War, the New Republic started developing Yuuzhan Vong hunter-killer droids, which I'll share a brief picture with you. They basically look like Terminators in Star Wars.
Yeah, that's a Terminator. And
yeah.
And then endoskeleton.
Yeah, basically they developed that specific droid as a huge middle finger to the Yuuzhan Vong. Because anytime these droids appear on the battlefield, that is the greatest insult for the Yuuzhan Vong. And all warriors will drop everything they are doing and make a beeline straight for that droid. even the droid is even programmed to say, "We are machines. We are greater than the Yuuzhan Vong," which is a huge ooh to the Yuuzhan Vong.
Well, yeah.
But anyway, so back to their technology. I already talked about the Amphi Staff before. One example of many of their weaponized technology is the Nung Null, which is a little insect creature. They're basically called foot bugs. Think of them as basically little shurikens.
Okay.
And they have different varieties, like there's the razor bug and the explosive bugs. Both of them very self-explanatory. Mm-hmm. And then let me see. They also commonly utilized. Am I skipping one? Yeah, another bioweapon that they use is the Gretchen. They are basically locust-like creatures that are designed to fly through the vacuum of space and chew through starfighters with their mandibles and acid. Oh, there we go. Yeah, they love using warbies up the wazoo.
Ew. That's creepy.
Yeah, it is very creepy. And another war beast is what is called the Vakwarliv Sakal, also known as dread weapons. They're basically large worm-like organisms that extend from the bow of a Yuuzhan Vong warship to penetrate the hull of an enemy vessel or space station, and then proceed to suck out all the occupants on board. Like, yeah, they're basically giant straws.
Yeah.
And this is what they look like. They're basically giant fuck-off space worms.
Ew.
They also have these war beasts called flame beasts, which, if you look, they basically look like organic versions of a tripods from War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have so much shit. This is just barely scrapping the surface, by the way.
They have all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Let me show you a quick picture of their fleet. All of that, all of those are alive.
They kind of look like the space whales.
Yep, they do.
Just a bit.
The large star-shaped ship in the background is called a world ship. Those ships contain the entirety of the Yuuzhan Vong race.
Wow.
And yeah, this one completely dwarfs a Super Star Destroyer in that image.
Christ.
But yeah, let me see. And then another impressive organism is what is called the Yulmosk, also known as war coordinators. Think of them as basically giant brains. Here we go. Yeah, these things are basically organic supercomputers.
Yeah, that's creepy.
Yeah. So these war coordinators, as the name implies, they are utilized to coordinate all the biots of their masters in entire battles. And unlike the rest of the biots of the Yuuzhan Vong's disposal, they are partially sentient. They are comparable to battle analysis computers, and they basically link the minds of all Yuuzhan Vong warriors together as a sort of hive mind sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and another variant of these war coordinators are called, world coordinators. Think of them, but bigger, and command the entire planet.
Wow.
Yeah. But I'll give you one. Okay, they also have this thing called Vavilion, which is basically a nice little plant. These things serve as basically the common communication between all Yuuzhan Vong.
Okay, it's like a little hive mind plant.
Pretty much. They could serve as earpieces, or for the main plant itself. If there's a sister plant across the entire galaxy, it would produce a three-dimensional image of the messenger.
Oh, that's cool.
Think of it as a organic hologram.
That's weird.
It is so weird.
I see now why this is EU.
It's so cool, though. It is so cool.
But imagine Filoni trying to fucking make this canon.
Oh, let me get to that in a little bit. Because there's a nice little story behind that, actually. One more thing I want to point out, though. There's this plant called a Doven Basil. I'll show you a quick image of it real quickly. A Doven Basil is basically an organic plant that is within the core of each Vong ship.
Looks like a tick.
A little bit, but here's the thing. These things harvest gravitonic forces. So each Yuuzhan Vong ship, they don't have shields or any kind of protection. The Doven Basil basically serves as the Yuuzhan Vong's version of a shield generator. But here's the thing. These things control miniature black holes.
God damn.
And basically how they do that is that if a enemy starfighter is firing upon a vessel, the Doven Basil just opens up a black hole, absorbs all the firepower, and it doesn't hit the ship whatsoever.
Wow.
And another thing, they basically serve as propulsion systems for their warships and everything. Another way of these Doven Basils can be used is if a Yuuzhan Vong looks at a world and decides, that's too much effort. Oh, there's a moon right next to it. Okay, put a Doven Basil on it, propel the, put it in the moon, and yeet the moon right out of a planet below.
Oh god, that's huge.
Yeah. So if the Yuuzhan Vong feel particularly lazy, they just yeet a moon out of a planet.
Jeez.
Yeah, and yeah, I'll go ahead and skip most of the things, because that's just scratching the surface, but that is basically the Yuuzhan Vong in a nutshell.
Depending on how this episode goes in views, if you guys want a part 2, we'll do a part 2.
Oh yeah, I remember this other fucking story. So you remember Dejaric, which is basically Star Wars chess?
Yes.
There's a named Yuuzhan Vong character. I think he's like a general or something. He found out about Dejaric, and he's like, oh god, that is awesome. These other worlders know how to make a good game, but let me make it even better. And he made his version of Dejaric. You know, like Dejaric pieces are basically holograms and everything. He made living creatures for it.
Oh wow.
So like Dejaric, but
the living Dejaric.
Yeah, pretty much.
God damn.
I think it's pretty neat though. But yeah, long story short, the Yuuzhan Vong, they had a war with the entirety of the galaxy that lasted for 4 years, by the way, and it resulted in the deaths of over 365 trillion galactic citizens of the galaxy.
Holy shit.
Yeah, they just went on a crusade across the galaxy, and in their war, they killed off several named characters, one of which was Chewbacca.
Oh, they killed Chewbacca?
Yep. So you know that that picture of the moon falling down to that planet? Mm-hmm. That's basically the planet that Chewbacca dies on.
Oh, God. Well, at least he died in a blaze of glory.
Pretty much, yeah. And also, in this war, another character that died against the Yuuzhan Vong was Anakin Solo, who was the third child of Leia and Han Solo. Mm-hmm. So yeah, just to give you a perspective of how devastating the Yuuzhan Vong War is, countless worlds were basically fucked by the Yuuzhan Vong. Like, many of them have been terraformed beyond recognition. Like, I believe Rhodia, many Rhodians were basically spliced by the Shapers into these giant hybrid creatures of Rhodian and crab-like creatures. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, they even invaded Coruscant itself and named it their new homeworld.
Wow.
They even transformed the Euconopolis and made it into an organic jungle.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how terrifying these motherfuckers are. Mm-hmm. And then, long story short, the New Republic was pretty fucked up, and they decided to reform into the Galactic Alliance. And in the final years of the war, so basically everybody in the galaxy, the Galactic Alliance, the Imperial Remnant, the Hapes Consortium, the Mandalorians, the Chiss, even the Hutts gather together to fight back the Yuuzhan Vong threat. So you know how, like I said in the Vitiate episode, that battle in Satele Shan's mind was basically endgame?
Yeah.
This is the original endgame, where they go to Coruscant and defeat the Yuuzhan Vong once and for all.
God damn, that's cool.
It is pretty freaking cool. I would love to dive into the Yuuzhan Vong War in its own separate episode. But long story short, the Yuuzhan Vong have been defeated. Their caste system has been shattered. Their religious icons have been shattered. They're just saying they're not doing pretty well right now in the modern galaxy of Star Wars. Well, the old EU Star Wars anyway. And many of the Yuuzhan Vong actually rose up against the old caste system, like the Shamed Ones and everything. But yeah, they're just a nomadic race trying to make up for the bad deeds they did in the galaxy. There's even an individual shaper, I can't remember her name at the moment, but she worked together with Cole Skywalker, who is the descendant of Luke Skywalker. And they do this thing called the Ossus Project, which is to restore all the worlds the Yuuzhan Vong devastated and bring them back to their former glory, basically. And at first, it worked pretty well. All the worlds were basically paradise jungles. But then the Sith, being the classic Sith, sabotaged it, and, well, now the galaxy hates the Yuuzhan Vong again. And that's basically all I have about the Yuuzhan Vong. What do you think, Anna?
Surprising.
Yeah.
Not what I expected for 2 years, but I guess I'm sure it was suggested.
It was suggested a couple of times, yes.
Okay.
But yeah,
At least for pandering to our audience.
It is. I would love to talk more about the Yuuzhan Vong in further episodes, but if I'm going to talk about one Yuuzhan Vong character, it would be this fucker. His name is Nom Anar. If I'm going to explain him in a nutshell, think of him as the Shang Tsung of Star Wars.
Shang Tsung?
Yep.
Okay.
Like, he's the guy. He's the master manipulator. He's the guy who went to the larger Star Wars galaxy and basically caused chaos for the Imperial Remnant, the New Republic. He even forced two civilizations to go nuclear Armageddon against each other for the lulz. And as the war went on, he did a couple of backstabbing. He even initiated the uprising against the former caste system because he wanted his own power grab and everything. But yeah, that is the episode of the Yuuzhan Vong. Hopefully I could talk more about them in later episodes, but I had a lot of fun with this one. How about you, Hannah?
Yeah, it was okay. I learned something new.
That you did. But yeah, that is our episode of Can Mayonnaise Kill a Jedi? Or in this case, oh my god, stop cutting yourself!
It's like, stop hurting yourself, please!
But yeah, so that is the end of the 40th episode of the podcast. You'll know what episode is next. Don't worry, Hannah. I'll let you know what I'm doing next.
Good.
But yeah, happy 2-year anniversary, everybody.
Happy 2 years, y'all.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you all so much for sticking with us for 2 years. Got any closing statements, Hannah?
May the Force be with you. This is the way. Hurry the fuck up.
Yeah, let me go ahead and cut my wrist over here. As I contribute to the Yuuzhan Vong gods. Bye-bye!
Bye.